We have only started.
The World Trade Organization is the only international organization dealing with the global rules of trade between nations. Its main function is to ensure that trade flows as smoothly, predictably, and freely as possible. The result is a more prosperous, peaceful, and accountable economic world.
This is the beginning, and everything's at stake.
There's only one thing that the ruling interests have ever wanted, and that's everything.
What we are against is trade at any cost.
This is not about trade. This is about a corporate constitution.
We're pitted to be pitted against each other in a race to the bottom. Who will accept the most miserable working conditions?
What's your name and what brought you down here? Where are you from?
My name's Kale Shannon, and I'm a native of Seattle, Washington, and basically I was down here to shut the WTO down, to send a message that, you know, what you guys are doing is wrong, and you need to back off.
Who's gonna benefit?
Not most people.
Only a percent of it.
That's not equal.
Why did you want to come down here?
Oh, I just saw in the television there's lots of things going on down there for the WTO trade organization, and it's the first time in my life I saw such a big event. I just want to see what happened, and I just want to see who are doing those things to whom, and I just want to come down and look around. Personally, I don't really much know about this thing, but that time, since I'm a Tibetan girl, I just think the people has to pay more attention to the right of the people, not like making much money or doing more economic things than doing the right of people.
Well, 200 years ago, we established a principle in this country that ultimate political authority does not reside in the king or the president or the Constitution or the Supreme Court or the Congress. Ultimate political authority, sovereignty, resides in we the people.
I don't want to lose democracy for my children, for my grandchildren. And the way the WTO is set up, we're losing it. And if we don't all stand up, we're going to lose it.
We're on our way to be near the convention center, try and prevent today's meeting from taking place.
So are you in the lockdown crew?
I'm taking part in that, yes.
Okay. Why do you feel that a strategy like a lockdown is important? Why do you think this is the right way to go?
I think it does two things. One is that we're actually physically standing in the way of what's going to happen today, and that's important for us to do. And second of all, it demonstrates that people are willing to both go outside of the boundaries and put themselves at risk, and that they feel this is really important, and that's something that people around the world need to know, that this is a very serious thing.
Human need not corporate greed. Human need not corporate greed.
My name is Gopal Dayaneni. I'm a preschool teacher from Berkeley, California.
And what's brought you out here today?
What brought me out here today is the totally undemocratic way in which major decisions about human population are being made by the World Trade Organization. You've got people here from all over. You got labor, you got environmentalists, you got teachers, you've got children, you've got coalitions between people of color.
Well, the question you asked me, do I think that we have power? I mean, that's a really great question, and I think we do have power. I mean, I think when people get together like this, it's powerful because it will bring attention. It has to be covered. It has to be looked at, and just that word will spawn conversation. If no one came out for this and said, hell, you know, those guys know what's best, let them do their thing, and just read the nightly news or sat down in front of TV and watched it that way, then I don't think there'd be nearly as much questioning. You know, there wouldn't be nearly as much meat for conversation. So in that way, I do think there is power in the people.
We don't have a vote, so they won't either. We don't have a vote, so they won't either.
What's going on here today?
We're
we're demonstrating the WTO. We're trying to shut it down.
What do you mean shut it down?
Well, right now we're blockading the entranceway that most of the delegates are trying to get in. So we're literally trying to shut down the meeting.
Value of direct action is to have our voices be heard and hopefully stop this meeting from happening so they can do no more harm.
Well, why don't you just write a letter to your congressperson?
Doesn't work. Let's get real.
Some people should write letters. I think letters have their place. Letters are good. It's not the only thing you need to do. Some people have taken it into their own hands to like stand in front of the machine of so-called progress.
As far as I know, there's a general, every street that leads to the convention center has a corner blocked off to prevent the delegates from entering within the thing. And it's also outreach too, because people have signs and the artwork and everything like that.
So what's going on here today? We're shutting down the WTO. What do you think?
Well, I think the value of direct action should be concrete. We should do things that aren't symbolic, but rather accomplish things here and now. Directly shut something down, or at least cause so much financial damage that our message gets to the CEOs.
What's your message?
Our message is that commodification of life is wrong, dominionism is wrong, capitalism is wrong, and that all beings desire freedom. I gotta go.
The plan is to take Seattle and have fun with it, I guess.
What's the WTO all about?
It's all about greed. It's all about, look at these kids up here. They got a sign up that says, don't trade our future. For these young kids in the street today, it's about their future being traded off by corporations who frankly don't give a shit what happens to them. That's what it's about. That's what people are fed up with it. They understand it.
Direct action brought these people together. Many of them on the street I've talked to have never been in a direct action before. They feel very empowered. They're starting to understand that people can be empowered and take charge of things themselves, and direct action is perfect for getting people in that role to take charge over their own lives.
We'll never be divided. Together, united. We'll never be divided. Together, united. We'll never be divided. Human need, not corporate greed. Human need, not corporate greed.
They have not started the WTO meetings because of you all.
I've seen an incredible amount of discipline on the side of the protesters. I've seen people remain composed under unbelievably duressful situations. I've seen people tear gas right in the eyes, remaining seated while they're praying today.
They're tear gassing 16-year-old girls sat on the ground. It's outrageous.
They kept telling us to move and we didn't move, and they tear gassed us and they moved in.
No more violence. No more violence. Don't let anyone. No more violence. No more violence.
The police began to spray tear gas into the crowd and shot rubber bullets indiscriminately into the crowd.
This is an overkill. They could have had these guys standing way back around the corner, had regular officers out here. This is like almost we dare you to act.
We'll build a movement. We have no We have no fear.
Are we here and are we ready to march? Sisters and brothers, we are the story of WTO, and the WTO will never be the same.
The free trade advocates of the WTO have come to Seattle to further their strategic takeover of the global economy. We, in the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, want to give them the welcome they deserve. So we've closed the Port of Seattle and other ports on the West Coast. There will be no business as usual today.
Don't ever forget one thing, that the trade union movement is the most powerful voice that speaks for workers in any nation. We can literally change the course of history, and we're taking that first step here today. Thank you.
Too many people have given their lives, and our children are losing hope under an unjust economic system. An economic system that wants to divide us from each other. But we will not today be divided.
We've got a tremendous crowd. This is a great day, and this is being watched by people throughout the world. That we are mad as hell. We're going to change things. We are the people that want to change things. All these people here, and I think that message is getting through.
Today is not over. Today is not over. This will build into a trade policy that the Clinton administration will have to respond to protect workers' rights and environmental rights.
We march not for elimination of commerce, but for the elimination of human need. We don't want to reform globalization. We want to replace it. We want to replace it with a new internationalism driven by our mutual concern for dignity, fairness, and freedom.
It is a demonstration of all working class people all over the world, rich country, poor country, white country, black country, all countries.
Vine a Seattle para unirme con todos los trabajadores y trabajadoras del mundo para juntos y juntas reclamar nuestros derechos.
I came to join the rest of the workers from around the world and be workers here in Seattle to reclaim our rights.
As workers of the world, we are saying today to the WTO, we are going to fight you and your policy wherever you are.
United together, we can win. We're the coalition that stopped Fast Track. We're the coalition that stopped MAI. And we're the coalition that's going to tell WTO, you're going to be fixed or you're going to be next. Today is going to go down in the history as the day America's working people said, enough.
You ought to be up here to be able to see yourselves. You look beautiful. You are the people. You are the power. And we're going to show it today when we march.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Moving on. Nothing can stop me now.
Here from this stage and in the streets of Seattle, where we will take the examples of the students and stage a simultaneous silent sit-down against global injustice halfway through our march. We are united. Our demands are simple and clear. Every worker deserves protection of basic human rights, prohibition against child labor, slave labor, discrimination, and the freedom to join together with others in a union. The WTO must incorporate rules to enforce workers' rights and environmental and consumer protections. WTO proceedings must be opened up to give citizens a meaningful voice. National and state laws and regulations concerning public health and the environment must be safe from global veto. And the ability of governments to safeguard their people from devastating import surges or product dumping must be strengthened. Until the WTO addresses these issues, we should not and must not permit our country to participate in a new round of trade negotiations.
The rules of the game have changed, and the rules apply to everyone, workers and people around the world, and they have not respected the rights of workers. They have not understood that while they protect property rights and intellectual property and other rights, they've not had the decency to recognize that worker rights are human rights and they have to be respected as well.
We made history today. We're letting labor's voice be heard to the world leaders and to let them know that we would like fair trade, not just free trade. And we had a beautiful turnout. The weather was Seattle-ish, but we made it through. Thanks.
Organization's the key, and that's where it starts.
Workers, wherever they're at, are one and the same, and they believe in the right things in life. And we have got to stand up and reclaim a valuable heritage that there is a difference between good and bad and right and wrong. And doing worldwide business on a global scale has to be done for reasons that benefit all of humanity.
If all the work goes to the other countries and they aren't going to give them fair pay, then it's just not equal. It's not right for that.
Well, the reason we came is because we came to confront the injustice that WTO has created on third world countries. We feel that as Latinos, we need to start and be the forefront of the whole thing, because we can put, for one example, NAFTA. NAFTA has affected us directly. The reason it's affected us directly is because, we have Latinos that are working for $40 a week. It's unbelievable just the working conditions that have been created in Mexico. Pueblo unido.
Pueblo unido, jamás será vencido. Pueblo unido, jamás será vencido. Pueblo unido, jamás será vencido.
That's right. That's right.
Guys are steel workers from Spokane. There's been 3,000 of us on a strike lockout for 14 months. I'm here because I've been on 5 strikes, 1 lockout, and 1 company closing over the last 25 years. So I'm pretty much tired of this kind of corporate behavior. And what I've heard today about all the stuff that's going on with child labor. And I just don't think that our children should have to go through what I'm going through and then what other people around the world have to go through. Enough is enough.
There's 315 of us or so locked out. Always in the threats the company Kaiser Aluminum gives us is that they can make product cheaper in Ghana on the Gold Coast of Africa. They say it costs more for shoes and clothes for Canadian citizens than it does for wages. And so therefore they say our wages cost over 6 cents a pound from the price of making aluminum, but they don't have that cost disadvantage in Africa.
We're fighting. These are companies that rape the environment, they abuse the people. In this case here, they're trying to replace the workforce. Today was a historic day. It was a historic day for the city of Seattle. It was a historic day for the WTO. But most important, it was a historic day for workers all over the world. This was not just about Seattle. This was not just about today or this week. This is about workers' issues being on the table in all of our trade agreements and in all of our trade negotiations.
We actually shut the WTO down for 5 hours. How do you like that? There's such an uplifting mood among our membership that today we made a statement not just for our workers, but for workers all over this country. We stood up for those young children that are working and literally in slave labor in so many countries. We stood up today for the many people who have no voices in their own countries and who are forced to work for poverty wages.
You're going to hear it on the news tomorrow. Even tonight, they're going to be saying, oh, well, those demonstrators, they broke the windows of some stores in downtown Seattle. They broke the windows of Nike Town. Yeah. Well, what about Mr. Phil Knight, the head of Nike? How many hearts has he broken in sweatshops around the world? Why don't we talk about that? Why isn't that on the television sets? And what about the 3,000 families down here at Kaiser Aluminum? And what about Pueblo, Colorado, where there's a lockout down there of steel workers? Why are we talking about that?
I think it's interesting to look that some of the targets in the last couple of days were the Gap, Nike Town, Starbucks, McDonald's. What are those symbols of? Those are symbols of multinational corporations that have no respect for the people who produce our clothes, the farmers who grow our food. Totally corporate view of the world in which shareholder profits is the only thing that matters.
Some people from the public sector decided to turn a trash can over, light it on fire while the police were throwing tear gas bombs, shooting rubber pellets into the crowd. The crowd was throwing stuff back at the police.
I see.
A bunch of people got hurt, a bunch of people got gassed. There's a fire going on over there.
We've gotten hundreds of orders in the last 3 weeks for riot batons. It's been modified to for a more specific purpose of just moving people or creating a hole in a crowd to get through if you have to go into a crowd to find somebody, or to get somebody out, or to arrest somebody.
So Mr. Anderson, you feel sick? Stop it!
They're children just like yours. They're children just like yours. Got the cam grip shape, so it fits the natural shape of the hand, and it gives the person using it the feeling of having a striking angle, a striking edge, so they get proper striking technique. And if you've done any of the eskrima, you know a little bit how you have to swing it, sort of like you're swinging a sword. And so it helps remind them of that. You can roll that thing to get compliance and submission for the person you're putting down. Or if the crowd is just simply pressing against the officers when they're trying to control them, it's something to keep some space between the officers and the front of the line. Well, it's pretty far up the line as far as where the use of force is going to take, how it will unfold. And if things become violent, if the officers are attacked, or if the crowds refuse to move away, then you can go to a stick or to chemical weapons. But a lot of things happen first.
You all right, dude? You all right?
My work backlog is shameful. People are waiting a long time for some of this stuff.
So right now, update, quiet. Want me to tell you what's up? They're not even talking to us. They're not even telling us any kind of orders. They won't tell us who's in authority.
The news people from... Jesus, did you see that?
They're coming in here.
No, you better not come in here. Blockade the... Ah! Rescue it! Hey, get this guy! Come on, come on! Jesus! Stop! Block the door! Block the door!
Lock the door, hurry!
But get this guy! This old guy! They're trashing this old guy here.
They're barricading the door!
Block it! Block it!
Block the guys! Get him!
That's right, it's a barricade. Look at this.
What kind of people are these? So scary.
Have we got a judge up here?
Look at you.
I can't believe this. This is surreal.
Thank you, Brian. Can you let us know why?
I was ordered
I know, I understand.
to keep you guys in here. I'm following orders.
Yeah, I understand, man.
Okay, that's as far as it goes for me. I'm doing what I was told to do.
Okay, man, I understand.
Simple as that.
There's a guy behind him with the mustache you want to talk to, Joe. Who's that guy? Okay, close the door.
You guys sprayed us without
Nobody's spraying you right now.
You did, though.
Heading up to Seattle to start a brand new world built from the heart and stand beneath the starry crown. Good world, show me the way. Come on, people, let's go up. Come on up, don't